Hello there, my name is Tigitar, and welcome to a very special video on a very special day. So as part of my happy 10th anniversary Terraria plan, one of the things that I thought would be fun was for me to try to do a complete series of my entire Terraria history tour. What I want to try to do is go through all of my main characters that I've had since I started playing the game nearly 10 years ago and kind of show you what it is. It's probably going to be a bit of a lengthy video here. I'm a bit scared, but I think we should be able to make it through. You are definitely going to want some snacks though, so grab some of those right away. So to kick things off here, my very first ever Terraria character / world. This Tigitar right here, I should probably rename him to Tigitar 1.1. Maybe I'll do that real quick, actually. 1 second. Whoops, I just accidentally named this character nothing, and it turns out you can do that. Interesting. Okay, here we go. Now I've got him labeled, so it should be a little bit easier to follow. So let's just jump into Tigitar 1.1. I did manage to name all of my main characters throughout my history, basically just Tigitar, because I'm an extremely creative-minded person, okay? So Tigitar 1.1 and the world Tigitar 1.1. So this is my first ever Terraria world. So here's spawn. This is my original spawn point of the world, right here, in fact. Yep, I kind of built it up to look like a little bit of a jungle shrine, because those were one of my favorite things. And another thing that I did was I built these little traps everywhere. And so I placed traps all over my dang base, and part of it was just to troll my cousins who would come on and play with me. And consequentially, there are gravestones strewn about everywhere, not only from the traps that I placed, but also like different PvP that we messed around with and who knows what else. What I might try to do is grab some sunflowers real quick and put some of those down just so we can get rid of the graveyard and we'll be able to see a little bit better. All right, here we're back, and I just put some sunflowers around so you can actually see the colors in the place. I don't know, man. It's kind of funny seeing this, like all this stuff that I thought looked cool. Maybe it did kind of look cool at one point because a lot of these textures, almost all of these block textures, in fact, have changed since I built this. But it's just a weird combination of all this stuff. Like looking at it now, we've got. I think I used silver and green dungeon bricks here, just alternating with gold bricks around it. One of the things I always used to love building with was spikes, actually. So I have spikes integrated all over the place here. I had hallowed coming in from the one side of my base here. This house right here I built as it was my first tree house that I built, and I used these Chinese lanterns here. I made it like just jungle themed, and I remember being super proud of this thing. It's one of my favorites. Obviously, it's just a slightly glorified noob cube, but I still really like that thing. My NPC hotel right here, I just had basically enough rooms to house all the NPCs that were in the game. And then when Santa Claus was added, I added his room up on top here. Pretty basic here, and again, the colors just don't work now. I don't even know if they worked before. I kind of doubt it. But it's just funny looking at it now. I had a little display of all of the different bricks in the game up here. I think this is all the different bricks anyway. Another really interesting thing is to look at my equipment. Like, I had molten armor, the ninja set as my vanity, and basically the demon wings. Oh, I have a worm scarf equipped for some reason. That's weird. I must have done that sometime more recently because I shouldn't have a worm scarf on this character. That's weird. I don't remember putting that on here. Anyway, the Neptune shell, that was a really big one. And then the Spectre boots used to be the most upgraded boot that you could make. My weapon loadout consists of the laser rifle, the Dower of Pow, light discs. Light discs are still pretty solid. And I have an Excalibur and Gungnir. These were like the max weapons that you could get at this time. So this is in 1.1, and this is before they added hallowed bars. They had just added the Wall of Flesh and the mechanical bosses, And that was basically the farthest that the game content went at this time. Notice how I have the adamantite drill here instead of the old Hamdrax, or what's now the Drax. The Hamdrax used to serve as basically a pickaxe, a hammer, and an axe all. And so you just destroyed everything with it. And it sucked for building because you could not be precise at all. So I still have the adamantite drill as my main pickaxe. Let's take a look real quick up at these platforms here. I have these platforms and wow, I just realized I have no torches. Oh, I have a fairy bell though. Let's use this guy. I put these platforms up here. This was my access up to, oh gosh, there's a wyvern. Wow, do I even have stuff to beat this guy with? I did fight wyverns on this character. Oh, my laser rifle. This is what beats wyverns, right? Yeah. So anyway, this is one of the first sky islands that I ever found. You can see it's the old type of sky island too. And man, unfortunately, there are gravestones everywhere. Maybe I need to put some more sunflowers up here too. Well, here's sunflowers. I guess part of the reason why it was so dark is because it's the middle of nighttime. Oh well. Yeah, this is one of the old floating islands. Evidently, I completely removed the house that was here. I think the houses may have originally been made of like gold bricks or something. I can't actually remember for sure. It's kind of funny how many super tall trees there are on this thing too, though. My cousin built this little base on my world here, and he built it in water because of the Neptune shell. We were like just super into swimming around quickly because of the Neptune shell, and he still has a bunch of stuff in here actually. Oh wow, there's 5 platinum coins here. I feel like I'm really gonna have to start moving on this, otherwise we're gonna be stuck here forever. Down below we got my old herb farm. There must have only been 4 different herbs in the game. Right here I have a little slime farm where I have dart traps killing slimes that spawn from a slime statue. Yeah, these craters are actually from clowns. Back in the good old days, clowns would destroy blocks with their bombs, which made them the most terrifying thing ever. So whenever I was sitting at my base here and a blood moon occurred, I just sprinted down underground and got away from the clowns, because those things would just destroy everything. They're the worst. Another interesting thing, I had jungle grass planted all along the surface here because I really liked the jungle. I liked the trees, and I still like the background too. But that's kind of funny that I kind of made it into my own jungle biome. But then I also liked when snow fell over the screen. And so I have these snow blocks hidden in the ground all over the place. I just snuck in snow blocks everywhere because I liked, they used to give a sprinkling snow effect whenever there were snow blocks on the screen. So that's why those are there. Over to the right here, I built this pretty big tree actually. I built it after the classic Terraria tree, and for the leaves I just used dirt with grass planted on it for the green. It's kind of derpy. And then there's actually technically houses in the branches, and there's a weird little house down in the base of it too. But up in the top of this thing, I had an idea where I wanted to make like a fun little obstacle course. And so I built this obstacle course with the intention that you could play it, take off all your gear, and then you would explore the obstacle course and find different amounts of loot in the chests here, and eventually they would help you get through to the very end. And I don't even remember where that was. Anyway, this was an interesting idea of mine, and I never really did that much of it. Let's take a quick look at the actual base here. So my main house right here, I have this like entryway hall, books everywhere for some reason. And this is like my crafting area in here, and then all of my original storage was this right up here. You can see how, oh, I still have a bunch of blocks in here. Max stack for blocks was 250. That's pretty funny. Some gems in here. I had it decently organized. Max stack for gems was 99. It's funny seeing all the old stacks. Oh, all of the ore also only stacked up to 99. Except for some reason, meteorite, which went up to 250, like blocks. It's always fun, like, just snooping around and seeing what kind of inventory I had stocked up on my old characters. And down below here, I had like a supplemental crafting area with the less commonly used crafting stations. And up here, I remember building this banquet hall here. This room right here was supposed to be like a grand banquet hall, and I remember this being super cool. It's just super boring now, but... And then right here I had this hallway where I displayed all the different armors, and I'm pretty sure this is all the armors in the game actually that you could get. And this might be all of the vanities that the game originally had as well. Although I see I'm missing the miner's shirt. I'm missing the plumber's hat here. And I don't even remember what this one is. Up here I had a statue display. I don't know if this was all the statues or not. And then my elevator over here, I actually had been working on expanding and sort of decorating with cobalt and mithril bricks. One of the later things that I built was over here. What is it? Yes, Time Castle. I had the idea to build a castle, and this is it. I put clocks in it and called it Time Castle, and I remember being pretty proud of this thing. It's so funny looking back on. Yeah, so to the left of my base was Hallowed. I remember I always kept having to battle it back. Down underneath here, I have my first ever, like, actual storage room. So I ran out of storage in this room up here, and so I expanded down below. I dug out this area here and just filled it with chests. For some reason, I have a very distinct memory. While working on this storage room, I had just discovered the song by the Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes. And I had that song on repeat the entire time while I was building this storage room. And so every time I think of that song, it actually reminds me of working on this. We can just take a peek at some of the stuff that I have stocked up here. I had the organization, it was actually pretty clean. I have to admit, I'm not too disgusted with my chest organization. Wait, you know what I'm starting to wonder? For some reason, none of these chests are more than half full. I wonder if originally chests only were half the size that they are now. I don't remember that being a thing, but it's weird how all of these are only half full. That's really interesting. I might have to double check that real quick. Oh my gosh, no way. Okay, so I just looked it up, and yeah, in 1.2, all of the chests' capacity got doubled. So they were only half of the size that they currently are. I had no recollection of that whatsoever. That's crazy. Oh wow, look at my piggy bank here. I had all my valuable stuff, my bowls of soup, all my extra gold chests. That's weird. I don't know why I have hallowed armor in here. I'm pretty sure that that wasn't introduced till after I was done with this character. Oh, you know, wait a second. Earlier I was talking about how I didn't have Fire Blossom and Waterleaf up in the herb farm up there. That's because those things required special things to bloom. That's right. So the Fire Blossom actually needed to be submerged in lava in order to bloom. And so I think down here I had Fire Blossom and Waterleaf things going. So I could submerge them in lava or water to actually get them to bloom. And that's why they're not up here with the other four. Shiverthorn was added quite later on actually though. Alright, down this way is my mine, and still a bunch more traps located right here. I have a bunch of pressure plates that just activate these dart traps. And then at the end, I don't know if it's armed right now, this pressure plate activates these blocks and drops a boulder on whoever is trying to go down. Anyway, I don't think there's too much down there. But what there is here is, I think right here, there's a secret entrance to my special room. And yep, there's a switch right down in this corner here that opens the secret door to the room where I kept my souls. And so I had a tiny little secret room here. Oh wow, I have a light switch and everything. And I had Souls of Night, the Might, and the Sight in here as well. Kind of funny thing, I just like stashed all my souls away in a super hidden spot. And by the way, this is back before actuators were a thing. You could only activate stone blocks, and so that's what I used to make this little secret tunnel. Well, we could explore the rest of the world here, but I really cannot remember anything else of interest that we would find. So I think that's going to do it for this world. Oh, actually, there is one other thing. The other thing I wanted to see was the old generation of the underground houses. So I just actually switched to my other character to make exploring a little bit easier. And I also realized that the underground cabin generation didn't actually change till 1.3. So let's actually leave. We can I think we can call it good for this world because we can see the old cabin on my other world anyway. So that was 1.1. Let's move on to 1.2. And oh, it looks like I somehow removed my spawn point, but luckily I have a rod of Discord on this character, and I also left a rod of Discord in this chest here so that other people who join don't get stuck. So this teleporter is right below the surface, which I terraformed over the top, which is why the actual spawn is down there now. But if we take these teleporters over to the left, we will get here to my actual base. And so on this character, I built my base on top of a giant living tree. So this is 1.2 when they introduced living trees. And you can kind of see, even though it's dark, the generation was slightly different than it is now. Although, for this tree, I think I actually manually expanded it to make it a little bit bigger. But anyway, on top of the tree, I built my base. And I called it Cactus Castle. And I'm just going to sleep for a little bit to get to the daytime here so that you can see it a little bit better. But basically, I built all that out of cactus and painted everything inside with lime green paint. So everything is completely green. And honestly, it doesn't look the best. But you can see up in the top here, I have my bedroom and some valuable things in certain chests. And then down below, there's my first main storage room here. And then the main room down here had all the crafting stations. And then up above here were mannequins with all of the armor and vanity that you could get. I think I had them all for the time, but I could be wrong. So again, this is 1.2. So my maximum equipment was, I believe my maximum equipment was actually either hallowed armor or maybe glorified, I can't remember. I added this armor more recently for other tasks that I used this character for, but my main weapons are still here. I had the legendary pick saw. So I guess we probably did end with glorified armor, actually. And now I use it for vanity. I had the Scourge of the Corruptor as my main weapon for end game. So anyway, let's take a look around here. Oh, this was my critter chest up here. I had a collection of quest fish, some valuable potions, and then some valuable equipment in this chest. Actually, this here gives you probably a better idea of what the end game gear looked like at the time I played this character. Here's my vanity and armor display cases, all of the workstations down here. The room is basically mirrored on either side and on the bottom floor here. And then to the left and right, I had the NPC housing wings. And so I basically just had a sandstone sort of castle-y looking thing, and I built the NPC rooms in here. I remember spending a lot of time farming for gold furniture, especially the chairs, because I used a bunch of them to make this base. And of course I have a teleporter system here. It looks like my demo man was dead for some reason. Oh, look at that cloud back there. I've only seen that cloud like once before. I think it might be rare, but I haven't looked up clouds on the wiki since 1.4. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, I do have a teleporter system to take us to either side of the base and beyond, actually. But down below the base, I have a mushroom biome on the left side, and at the bottom of one of the support pillars, I have the truffle and his little mushroom house. And then on the other side, to mirror it, I have the jungle with the jungle house for the witch doctor. In the middle here, I had an herb farm set up, and as you can see, I had the water leaf and fire blossom submerged in water/lava because that was the only way they bloomed still. I remember another thing that I had an insane amount of was mummy vanity armor. So I put a bunch of mannequins and had like a mummy army guarding my base from either side. Now, this world, I actually do have quite a lot of stuff on. Unfortunately, my map has been wiped since I played this character, and so there isn't a lot on here, but I think I remember where most stuff is, so we should be able to find it. So after I filled up this storage room, I needed to expand, and so I built one underground and had a teleporter that takes us to it. It's right under our base. I have a bunch of junk filling everything up down here too, it looks like. But yeah, kind of just a bunch of overflow stuff. So this would be my, I guess, my second big storage room that I had. Accessories seem to take up the most space eventually, no matter what playthrough I'm in. Like, oh yeah, you'll notice that I used glorified around the outside because it looks pretty cool. I actually still think it looks cool, but it did take me a little bit to mine all that chlorophyte. Let's just walk over to the right here to start things off. So I had a number of different arenas that I built for boss fighting and invasion fighting. Like I fought the Pumpkin Moon and Frost Moon numerous times using these arenas. So basically they're just giant flat slabs, and I tried to customize them to look unique and cool each time. So this is the rainbow arena, and in the center I just had a little platform with campfire and crystal balls, and I just fought guys here. It's pretty simple. Also, I had the bat hook equipped here. The bat hook was my favorite hook at this time because of how quickly it pulled you to it. So here's this is actually the original arena that I set up here. Nice park theme, and oh my gosh, the gravestones are filling the entire floor. It also got struck by a meteorite over here, so it's in pretty rough shape, I gotta admit. Beyond this arena here, I basically flattened out the entire world this way, and I built houses to display all the different furniture that was in the game. So I had the wooden house here, which had all the different like regular furniture you could get, and then the slime house for slime furniture, mushroom for mushroom furniture, and so on. I had all the different furniture items on display in each of their respective houses here, and I remember shortly after I finished this, they added sinks in like a minor update, and I did not take the time to go through and find out where to fit a sink into each of these houses. I remember very vividly this project and spending time building all these houses. I was really happy with most of them, and it was a lot of fun building. Looking at them now, they're all pretty plain and basic compared to like most things that you see nowadays. But I still remember being pretty proud of these, and I thought they were really cool at the time. The rightmost teleporter ends right here. So we can take it back. Oh yeah, one house that I missed was the Skyware house above the living tree. So let's take the teleporters back, and let's check out the left-hand side. And so on the left, I had another series of arenas that I built, and which also have some meteorite damage by the looks of it. Underworld Crimsonish theme arena here, so some lava on the side. I had a jungle arena set up next to it here. Next to, of course, we have the snow arena. I had Christmas trees of all varieties. Oh, you can kind of see down below here, I tried to fill in all of the airspace that there was to keep enemies from spawning and getting trapped in caves down below. As we continue, you can kind of see some of the terraforming that I did on the world. So here's world spawn. Again, just pretty much flattened out the area. Oh, it looks like I made a fishing pond here. And over here is my biome display. So I built these big glass spheres and built custom biomes inside of them to show off different biomes. So we got the underworld, the jungle, the mushroom, which makes everything else dark. Now we can't see anything else. Let's see, here's the regular forest here, underground. I had a lot of fun making these, and I really like these actually. Here's the hallowed. Oh, it looks like I needed some hallowed fishing at some point after I built this. Here's my my little desert here. Oh wow, I actually had a little oasis before they introduced oasis biomes. And then over here is my snow biome. Oh, I forgot, there's more. There's corruption over here. And oh, I also have crimson as well. I think that's all of them though. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with these biome spheres. One of my favorite little projects. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing across the whole surface of the world. Just completely sort of smoothed off. Somewhere over here though, we're gonna come to my pumpkin moon farm. At one point I saw online some like crazy efficient way to farm pumpkin moons and frost moons, of course. And okay, here we are. So I have lava and blocks and everything placed all around here. So this was basically a setup to grind very quickly the pumpkin moon / frost moon. So the way it worked is I stood in this box here, and I don't have my weapon on me right now, but I flipped this switch. This bird spawned from the statue and started these statue spawners up where I'm at, along with the spear traps, and I'm gonna die if I sit in here, but I'll teleport out and explain it. So all these monsters and critters are spawning in here, and I had a horseman's blade. And so I would sit here swinging the horseman's blade, and as it hit all of these enemies, it spawned pumpkin heads from off screen to come and converge on my position and basically kill all the event enemies really quickly. I actually added a second chamber to match the first one, and this is so that I could have one of my friends come on and swing another horseman's blade and basically make it even more efficient with more enemies and more killing. So using this setup, I actually was able to get my first pair of reindeer bells. That's basically the only thing that I had on the entire left half of the world. I built some up in the sky too, so let's see if we can find those. Oh, here it is. Here we are. Okay, so here's another arena that I built. I tried to make it more efficient with lava and traps and stuff. I don't even remember what all was going on here, but there's a lot of traps set up here. I thought that this would work really well for fighting the invasions and stuff, but it turned out that it still wasn't as efficient as the one that I showed you over here. I'm pretty sure there's a few other weird things that I had going on in the sky, but I don't want to take the time to find them. The one thing that I do want to do though before we finish up with this world is let's head to our main base here, and let's head down our elevator because I do really want to show you one of the old underground cabins. I don't know why my elevator is this wide, by the way. Oh, also here's my glowing mushroom farm. Had quite a few of those by the looks of it. Oh, here's another thing that I forgot about. Down here, I built this, I kind of dug out a giant cave. A giant rectangular cave. I dug it all out. I lined it with spooky wood to keep it from getting like corrupt or hallowed or crimsified or whatever. But evidently most of that just spread around the outside anyway. So yeah, I dug out this giant cave here, and then in it I built different ponds for the different fishing biomes. So this was my fishing area down below here. This project probably spent me a little bit of time actually. Here we go. So this right here, this is one of the original house generations, and this isn't even a really weird one. It's always fun for me to see these things because I do not see them very often because they don't exist anymore. I think this covers it for my 1.2 playthrough, but I think there's one other thing that actually I built on 1.2. I had a world that I named Tigitar 9 that I was going to have for a specific building world. And so here's the spawn point. There's a snow palace to the left here. I added a sign there. But basically, I went to the snow biome, which was to the left, and I wanted to build like a big snow castle or something. And so you'll see what I came up with. Here it is. Snow bricks with cobalt bricks lining the inside of the walls on a giant gold brick foundation, and then a giant slab of plain snow brick background walls, some bookcases spread all around. This is like basically my textbook building style that I first had when I was doing early stuff. Chain lanterns and spikes and nothing else. Oh yeah, bookcases, and I still use a lot of books today. But anyway, yeah, I built this giant ice palace, and I thought it was really cool, but it's really weird now looking at it. But after I built this, I decided to use it as kind of a staging area for another project, and in here we have a bunch of blocks and stuff. Oh, you know, looking at this is actually pre 1.2, isn't it? The block stack is only 250. So this is actually older than I thought it was. Some of my cousins and I, oh great, it's a blood moon. We, over to the left here, where the snow ends, we wanted to try to build an artificial ocean and an underwater base because we saw somebody else do it on YouTube and thought it was the coolest thing ever. And so we tried starting it ourselves. So we have a lighthouse here. I think I built this lighthouse. Have the merchant in the bottom of it here. And then we blasted out this giant hole, and we haven't filled it with water yet, but we started some weird builds. So somebody built a jellyfish here. We got a couple of goldfish, like the goldfish, and then the corrupt goldfish, I think, was the idea here. We didn't have too much going on, but over to the left here, there was a little bit more structure. I remember this shark here was actually my base that I built. I built the shark there, and there was this demon altar here, and I tried to use the demon altar as the teeth on my shark, and then I used spikes for the upper teeth. Anyway, kind of weird. Down below here, I think I built this goblin bar, and then up above we have a little library and a cafe up top here. Yeah, my library, no food. Yeah, right here was one of my cousin's bases that he started. Just a giant, like, triangle. It was going to be an underwater ocean base, and it was going to be epic, but, yeah, we didn't get too far. Moving right along, we are up to 1.3, and let's jump into it. So, on my 1.3 playthrough, looks like we're back at spawn and not at my base. You can see my equipment is much closer to current endgame equipment. Now we got solar armor, the Terrarian, and the solar flare pickaxe. So basically current endgame gear with the exception of some of the accessories. With this character, I knew that I wanted to eventually build a super base. And so this world, I never had intentions of making like an actual cool base or other builds. This world is basically just for functionality. And so I have a few different things, like right here I have a rotten chunk farm that I made. So it's just an AFK rotten chunk farm where I stand here and dart traps just kill everything while the conveyors bring the rotten chunks to me after they die. Pretty basic. Oh! This is where my reindeer bells are, on this character. Okay, I forgot about that actually. Finally, we made it over here, and looks like I gotta add some sunflowers here real quick also, because I think I've done a lot of PvP here over the years. Okay, one sec. No way! Okay, I'm finally back. I just placed over 100 sunflowers around here, trying to make it visible, and I still missed some spots. Like up here it turns back into a graveyard. Anyway, let's look at this stupid base that I had. So like I said, like this was supposed to be just purely for functionality. So I had rooms in here. This is like the second iteration of the cactus house. So a bunch of NPC rooms, and down below was my storage and crafting. And this is basically all there is to it for my entire base that I had. But I did so much grinding on this world. So over here was where I fought like a ton of bosses. I had the altar set up. Grinding for dev sets from destroyer loot bags. I killed the destroyer right here in this desert like so many times. I think I got up to where I could kill like over 50 a night. Maybe close to, it might have been between 50 and 100 destroyers in one night. It was crazy. But anyway, it did cost me a lot of lives, as you can tell. And another hilarious thing about this base location, it's if you look on the map, we're pretty much at a bad spot in terms of where the celestial pillars spawn in. And so I remember my very first time fighting the celestial pillars. The pillar always spawns a little bit over here, like just to the left of my base. I beat the cultist and teleported home, and immediately just died and got stuck in a death loop from the vortex pillar. There were just these alien hornets swarming my entire base, and I died over and over and over. It was hilarious. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, because I tried to farm the destroyer a bunch of times, as you can see by these souls, but most of the stuff on this world has been actually moved over to Circa Terra, because my entire plan for this character was to sort of build up everything to the end of the game and then build a major super base, which ended up becoming Circa Terra. So this is like the world that led up to that base itself. I had actually a pretty cool little herb farm over here. I had a big living mahogany tree that I made, and then put a bunch of herbs here. All of the herbs here stacked up, so I had like a really good sized herb farm here. And then to the right here in this tiny living tree, I had my little alchemy station here. Next over here, this is where I had my mushrooms set up. So this is the only biome that the truffle could live in. Pretty lame for him. Over right here is actually where the outermost pillar spawned. So I died a whole bunch here to the various pillars. Let's head down underground. I think I have some more stuff underground here. Here's my glowing mushroom farm. And yeah, so down here I had actually a whole bunch of different grinders set up. So this was one of my like mob grinder arenas. I had a whole bunch of these set up so I could grind basically any enemy that I wanted to. Alrighty, let's head back, and I think we may have covered this world pretty decently here. Again, basically, it's just a giant grinding world. So from that character, I built Circa Terra, but I think we're going to wait on that. I think we're going to check that out last because I already have another video about that and you've probably already seen it, but I do want to run through it just for fun at the end. For now, let's talk about some of these other characters. Luminite Core, this is our current hardcore playthrough. Some Manor, this is our current summoner only let's play. Here's a character, Suck My Butt Wee Wee Breath. So this is the character that I beat hardcore expert mode on prior to 1.4. And this was the world that I did it on. So we can just take a really quick look here. Not much to it to show off, really. Just my hardcore character, that's all. Alrighty, well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're actually on to 1.4 now. This unlabeled Tigitar is actually a character, my first main character that I played 1.4 on, but it was on a server. So when 1.4 launched a year ago now, I wanted to set up a Terraria server so that a bunch of my friends and I could explore and experience 1.4 together for the first time. And so Terra Nullius is the world that we actually made to play on. So let's jump into this. Over here, I'm actually at my main base that I made on the server. I built in the desert, and unfortunately, the corruption kind of took over the place. So I should contaminate this, but you can still kind of see what the base looks like at least. I used the new sandstone furniture, and I actually had a really good time building this base, and along with a bunch of other things on the server. Down here, there's a trap chest right here, and clicking it opens the door down here, these two little passageways. If you can see kind of in the dimness down below me, you have to flip one of these switches if you want to be let down. If you flip the wrong one, uh-oh, we flipped the wrong one. Oh my gosh, I lived though. Nope, no I didn't, never mind. It actually worked. So that's what happens if you flip the wrong switch, and I just got killed by my own security system. Okay, it was the fourth one. That's the one it was. So this fourth switch, if you pull that, it actually lets you down below. And this was my kind of secret vault area with other chests in it. And I had some valuable stuff in here. Let's remove our spawn point and then head back to the actual world spawn. By the way, this is as far as I got on this server. We basically got into hard mode. I got the titanium gear, and I had a crystal serpent that I was using, but we actually stopped there and didn't continue the playthrough anymore. So here's the start of the world. There's a sign saying welcome to Terra Nullius. Don't touch the special trees. We didn't know if we would be able to get these trees back or not, so we decided not to touch them. Down here is like the central storage hub that we had for the server, just a bunch of stuff. And then over here is like the little starting house that I think I mostly made, but a bunch of other people kind of pitched in. And we had a little starting setup for the first NPCs. We had a little arena here too for like fighting our early bosses. There's another little thing over here. We had the Glass Cat's Eye Hotel. I just built this so that we would have more NPC capacity in here. So that's just kind of to temporarily house NPCs. Over here I had the introduce yourself board. So I built this little thing, and you could grab a sign and some paint and then just put a sign up here and write some information about yourself so that everyone else on the server could kind of tell who you are. We had a little herb farm here. Oh, looks like I think we have a daylight sensor somebody set up. I actually don't remember this. I think somebody set this up. Luckily, my map is still intact for this world, so you can kind of see where I've been and what we've explored. My cousin was building this base here. This was his main base, and it's really cool, actually. He had a really good thing going. Really cool shape here with stone bricks to make it all corrupt and scary looking. And then he had gravestones up at the top so that it turned into like a spooky lightning and graveyard when you went up there. Here is the foundation to an arena that I actually made. I just decorated this big staircase up here, wrote some funny signs along the way up, and then up here was our Old One's Army arena, and other bosses, of course, as well. But this actually turned out really cool. I really like how this kind of turned out. Let's see. So the other thing we had here at spawn is a couple little shops. So this was actually one of my shops. I had fish and bait, so it was a little fishing shop set up down here in the pond. And I had the chests labeled with how much each item cost. Had some quest fish for sale. fish finders, just kind of fishing stuff. And I had a fair amount of business here while it lasted. And I actually had a second shop as well. We had some simple tree farms over this way as well. But up above here, I had another shop, called it Trinkets and Tinkets. And oh yeah, so how it worked is I had one chest back here where these items were all 9 gold each. And then the front chest was 2 items for 15 gold. And at random, every day I rotated a couple of these items between the chests. So it kind of changed around each day. It was a really fun idea. I actually really like it a lot. Let's move on. Let's head over to this way. I know there are some living trees right over here where we had some people set up. This is Spice's spicy shop here. And he had, I don't remember, I think he was selling kind of just a variety of things, I guess. He had a few things set up here in his little shop, so that's cool. Next to him, he had a really close next door neighbor down this way. And there was a little shop set up in his house down here. You could buy a potion set for a gold. Let's start back from here. Let's actually see if we can take a trip to the different pylons. So let's look at our desert pylon. Our desert has since been hallowed by the looks of it when we got into hard mode, but there was like this little tiny desert outpost here. I think I made this with sandstone to set up the pylon. Another person set this little house up over here by the oasis using bamboo and made a pretty cool little like greenhouse room in the middle. It's pretty cool actually. I like it a lot. Let's check out the jungle pylon. I made this just like a really plain simple bamboo house. This was like my first introduction to the bamboo and the large bamboo, and I still have a great time working with it. I really like the bamboo. It's an awesome block. I don't think there's anything else too special over to the right side. I guess the only other thing that is really of interest is going to be our snow pylon over this way. So I built this floating snow island up above the dungeon entrance here. And I built this so that we could have quick access to the dungeon. Our forest and our desert pylons were over here. And so what I decided to do was make an artificial snow biome. And so I built like a little castle up here, had some NPCs in it. Another person on the server kind of added an attachment onto the original island and made it their own little base. So that was kind of fun. And then right below it we have basically the Skeletron arena at the dungeon. My base was between the dungeon and the spawn point. But anyway, I think that's about it for this world. It lasted a couple weeks, but just discovering the 1.4 content together was really, really fun for all of us, and it was a really great thing. This was my first start to the 1.4 experience. After I stopped playing on Terra Nullius, I started my own single player character for 1.4, the character that I'm still currently playing on and sort of working off of for other projects. So this is my main base. My original house that I built is right here, this little one. It's a simple little 3-story house for the merchant, nurse, and the arms dealer is supposed to be up here, but he's dead right now. And then down below I had my bed and a little bit of storage and some crafting and everything. Set up my forest pylon right here, and eventually I added over here my main crafting building right here. So I have all the crafting stations that I need. Over this way I have my initial like main storage room, which has since basically filled up and is out of space for the most part. I built this little bamboo sort of themed village above this big lake here, and this was kind of my main idea for my base here, was to have this cool little bamboo and palmwood village. I built in this herb farm here to match the theme, and then there's a tunnel down here that gives us access across the bottom of our base. Down here is my elevator, and one of the things I did is I also kind of redid this little cave system and redeveloped this underground house that was here to make it like not so abandoned. My moss farm here, and then if we take this teleporter down below, I have a few farms set up. I have some crystal shards growing here, which we can farm by deactivating pearlstone, and all the crystal shards fall down. We can pick them up really easy. I have mushrooms over here with the same thing. And then more recently, I've actually added some big herb farms, and I added them at such a spacing like this so that we can replant them using Smart Cursor, and I can do an entire row without accidentally planting above or below. I have a gems tree farm set up down here, 80 of each gem tree here and 400 of each herb. My arena is set up here. I use it for Old One's army and other bosses too. I have a bunch of relics displayed here. I think I have one of every relic across the whole arena overall. One thing that this arena is kind of missing is any sort of support pillars. It's just floating up here by itself, so it's kind of out of place, but it's not that big of a deal. If we go up above, I made a custom floating island up here, and my original intention was to get a sky pylon because I thought that there must be a sky pylon in the game, but unfortunately there's not. So I just kind of made this floating island, and it's mostly for show now, but it does house our party girl and zoologist as well as tiger. And I also added a soggy diaper of a cloud over here for fishing. So I do have a teleporter that takes us from here down to our base, and if we take this teleporter underground, it actually goes to my upgraded storage room. And so I basically have a pretty big open room down here, and it's not all filled in yet, but there's a good amount of storage in the center labeled by item frames. Some paintings down here. I was trying to just maybe see if I could lay out all the different paintings down here for fun. I have a start, but this is not nearly all of them. And then up above, I placed some extra relics. One of the things that I'm really proud of on this world, though, is my different pylons that I have set up. So let's just go check out them briefly. Here we got the snow pylon, a nice cozy cottage here in the snow. We got the desert pylon over this way, which is a nice little desert outpost. And then across the oasis, which I have set up for fishing here with a little dock. I built this little like desert castle to show off the new desert paintings that I was finding when I was exploring this world. And my underground pylon I have set up way over here. This actually is the pylon that I was using for my dungeon access, and I even have a teleporter here set up so that we can get right into the dungeon for farming and stuff. But I have the tinkerer and the mechanic living down here in their own little tiny houses. They're pretty cute. I kind of like those. And then down here I built a little bit of a bigger house to display some of the underground paintings. I tried to theme everything around the glowing krypton moss that I found here, which I thought was just so cool. Here's my original gem tree farm to right here, and let's check out our mushroom pylon. A couple of custom mushroom houses here, but overall there isn't anything crazy going on. I thought that maybe there would be an underworld pylon, and so I built a couple of little houses down here, but I found out that it was just the underground pylon. And so I ended up moving that eventually over here and sort of moving the mushroom pylon close by. Over to the left of our base here, I have a couple things set up that I've been doing some testing with, but I decided to make an actual graveyard. And so I have the grave lawn, which was like a custom little graveyard area over here. And it's not really organized. I just kind of wanted it to look like a little forest where people got buried. This is where my tax collector lives on this world too, in the little haunted house in the graveyard. Let's go and check out our jungle pylon. A pretty simple, just mahogany and mud brick house here, but I actually like it a lot. It's sort of built into the hill, got some bamboo support beams, and yeah, it's got our dryad and witch doctor in it. Over to the ocean, this is the ocean pylon. We got our angler and stylist living here. I just made a couple little interesting looking shacks. I used mainly palm wood, but I actually mixed in shell piles with the build, and it was quite interesting. I kind of like those a lot. And then over here I actually built a bit of an arena over here above the ocean, and this was for fighting Duke Fishron. Let's head to the Hallowed Pylon. So the Hallowed Pylon, I built my own hallowed biome kind of underground in the jungle because this was kind of the one space in my world that I didn't have good access to yet because I had my jungle pylon on the surface. So I built my own hallowed under here. I built kind of a giant geode out of pearlstone and then filled it in with a bunch of stuff. All kinds of sparkly, crystally things everywhere. Used the different craftable hallowed walls that you can get now in 1.4 to decorate the background with. Over here is a teleporter actually set up in the middle of this little crystal deal. And this takes us into our lizard temple. And down in the bottom here, we've got a little like ballroom sort of area that I made. I don't know, man. I just had a good time with this. That's most of the stuff on here, actually. We've just about done it. The only other thing is I actually was messing around with the new underworld themed furniture. That's the wrong way. I built this fun little, like, it was supposed to be like a devilish imp kind of face, and it was two towers basically on either side, and they just were displaying the new lava plants and lava furniture and like the new hanging pots with, I put deathweed and fire blossom in them. And so basically just kind of underworld themed things. And yeah, just mess around with the new furniture stuff. So anyway, that's pretty much the end of this world, and I think that leaves us with only one thing left to do, and that is to check out Circa Terra. We haven't looked at my hardcore playthrough world, but we have a whole series on that, so I'm sure you can check that out if you want. There are some pretty cool builds on here, though. Yeah, I think to finish things off here, let's just jump onto Circa Terra together and do a brief run-through. So here's the spawn area and teleporter hub here. Most of the teleporters aren't hooked up, but these top two take you to various locations within the base. If we head down, I like to go down first. We got kind of an underworld display area in the center and storage wings on the right and left sides. And so here's like the materials side, and then over on the left, which I have a teleporter to, you can find the accessories, tools, weapons, and that type of thing. If we move further outwards, we have the mini biomes. So we have custom biomes that I built around the outside of the base, and I have the lights turned off currently, but you can turn the lights on if you want to. Maybe I'll do that for now. You can see a little bit better. We have underground jungle here, the lizard temple, marble here, basically all the biomes. This underworld, the underworld ended up being pretty big actually. It's a lot bigger than most of the other biomes are, as you can kind of see. And then in the center, I ended up with some extra space, so I tried a little bit of pixel art in the background and tried to make like a demon bull face. And this was actually one of my favorite parts of the build. I think this turned out really cool looking. A few more biomes over on the right-hand side, but nothing special. And then if we head to the top part of the base, we can just run through it real briefly. Center area, we've got tunnels with NPC housing in it. I should probably turn the lights on again. Here we go. We got some lights. Tunnels with NPCs living in different houses around the place. Up in the center here, there's just kind of an overview balcony with glass furniture everywhere to fill the space. If we head further to the outside, we'll get into the main different slices of the build. And so over here we have the crafting station. This has all the different crafting stations in the game. And of course, Circa Terra is my 1.3 super base. So it has nothing that you would have found in 1.4. Have the furnace room over here. There's herb farms in planter boxes throughout this section. And then in the center is the potion brewing area. Up above this, we have a little back entrance here to the fishing shack, which is, and I apologize for all the lights being turned off. You should really go watch the Circa Terra tour video if you want some more details. It's a lot better than this. I just thought it'd be fun to run through it really quick together. The next one is the critter slice. So we got the critters up here. This whole entryway is kind of just for show, just kind of luscious green trees and vines with different critters. And then here we have the actual critters on display, kind of all a little bit more organized back here, and different pets that you can get here. Next, over this way, we have the NPC housing. So all the different NPCs in 1.3 have their own little custom house in this section. And beyond that, we have the tree farm. So all the different biome trees. Here's the center, top of the base, and moving on to the next side, we have the furniture display. So all of the paintings that you could get, all of the trophies, all the enemy banners except for Old One's army. Same with the trophies actually. And then here's all the different themed furniture sets. Here's all the different blocks. Next is all the different armor and vanity sets and vanity items. Over here is the weapons and tools display, as well as some other miscellaneous items down here in the item frames. And then lastly, to finish things off, we have the vault. And so you enter the vault into the grand dining room here with some pixel art. And then you move back into the main vault where there's piles of valuable metals, a bunch of crates strewn about, coin piles everywhere. Oh good, the slime has finally stopped falling from the sky here. I don't know how long that's been going. And that basically covers it there. So that's like the quick run through of Circa Terra. There's a lot of details to sort of examine if you're interested. And this world, of course, is up for download on the Steam Workshop if you want to check that out. My current project is, like my main project, is Tigaria, as many of you might know. And so that's this world here. I'll show you briefly what it started as. But it's going to be the new Circa Terra in some ways. So this is a central hub. I'm going to have these teleporters in these castles to the right and left side here. And this framework going around the outside is going to be where we can branch off to the different sections from. And so there's progress being made, but this project is kind of the one that I'm currently working on, and most of my building time is spent here. This world is also currently up to on the Steam Workshop. It's not as updated as this though right here, because I have Are You Smarter Than the Guide over this way, which is a mini game that I made, and I'm hopefully wanting to make more, but this one's done, and it's a little trivia Terraria game. So if you want to check this out, it's also on the workshop. It's a lot of fun, and I'm actually really proud of making this thing. One thing that I can be very thankful for is that I still have access to my very first world. Like, I've never had an issue with Terraria world corruption. That's not true, actually. I have had my world files corrupt occasionally, but luckily I make backups regularly, and the one time that I actually had to use my backup was actually on my current world last year, and I had just made a backup earlier that same day, and so I lost virtually nothing. I'm really thankful that I have these, and I think it's really cool that I still have it to look back on. There is one very last thing that I think would be fun to try to do here at the very end. I'm gonna go through all my worlds and collect all of my black lenses. I want to see if I can pool all of my black lenses. Do I have over a stack? It looks like I only actually have 2 black lenses on my 1.1 world. Okay, I guess there's not a ton, but I did have 25 more, it looks like. 1.3, I actually don't think I probably have any on this world. I think all of these ones I probably cleaned off and moved to Circa Terra already. If I did have any, it would be in one of these chests right down here though. This was my materials, and as you can tell, some of them were overflowing. Oh, okay, I actually have 9 in here. Cool. Let's just for fun check on my old hardcore world. Okay, there's 1 black lens. I guess I'll take it. Okay, so I think we're just left with Circa Terra and my current world. Let's check how many we have here on Circa Terra. 37 here. I honestly thought there were a few more. Okay, let's go to the current world. Here's another 33 of them. And oh man, that brings us right up to 100. Never mind, I can't do math. That's 110. Oh baby. Okay, that's pretty sweet. I was really hoping that I had over a stack of them. So anyway, I hope that you guys found this somewhat enjoyable, even though it's probably like hideously long and painful to sit through. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. I hope you ate a lot of snacks. And beyond that, I hope that you have an outstanding rest of your day. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you later.